automotive, this is a minute. Prop 36 is officially in effect statewide today. This allows for harsher punishments for some theft and drug crimes for repeat offenders. California voters overwhelmingly approved Proposition 36 during the November election. In Oakland, Council President Nikki Fortunato-Bass takes the reins as interim mayor today. Sheng Tao's last day in office was yesterday after being recalled by voters. Bass will serve until she joins the Alameda County Board of Supervisors next month. The city will hold a special election in April when voters will get to choose a new mayor. In San Jose, the Bay Area Union School District is considering closing up to 3 schools with a final decision expected today. The options include shutting down or merging some elementary and middle schools. Parents and teachers oppose the move, while district leaders stress the financial necessity. Bay Area's only primetime newscast, 8-9 p.m. on Pix Plus, 44 Cable 12.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Throughout the Bay Area this morning, we woke up to a dense fog advisory. And heading into this afternoon, that fog's still going to be a little bit stubborn in our inland areas, with daytime highs today topping off really in the upper 50s and lower 60s throughout most of the Bay Area, to the north at least, near Oakland, Vallejo, and Napa. Santa Rosa, another good example too. As you zoom in, you'll see daytime highs over there pretty much sitting in the mid to low 60s. Now, we head all the way down into the Santa Clara Valley. That's a different picture. A little bit warmer for us today, closer to the 70s this afternoon near San Jose. It's 68 degrees. Now, here's the big weather story for us. Once that fog starts to move away, we're really just left with some mild conditions this afternoon and beautiful conditions to get out there and get some fresh air. It's a beautiful day out there today as high pressure is parked just offshore, keeping the storm track just to the north of us. But that's going to look a lot different as we head into this weekend's forecast. As early as Saturday, Sunday, and Monday of next week, the rain returns, and so does the strong winds too. So let's take a quick look at what we can expect as we head into the next 7 days. Daytime highs, they're going to stay pretty much in the low 60s, upper 50s throughout the Bay Area. It's dry for us today and tomorrow, lasting into Friday, but notice how it does change as we head into this weekend and early next week too. We'll cool down a little bit as we head into mid next week, but that's still not the big weather story. We're expecting wind gusts to get pretty breezy into our Saturday and Sunday forecast as the storm first approaches us, and some heavy rain expected too, especially up in the North Bay as the storm comes in from the north. We'll keep you updated with that forecast here in the Weather Center as well as those rainfall totals, but for now, get out there and enjoy these dry days we have until Friday, because by Saturday, you're definitely going to want to hold on tight to that umbrella.
Well, California is sick of retail theft sent a strong message with the passing of Proposition 36 in November. Those new rules are now in effect, reclassifying some theft crimes, leading to more felonies for repeat offenders. This is the reality for many stores, products behind plexiglass doors, trying to deter thieves. The law is tougher on crime, but many retailers say they will wait and see and keep cabinets locked for now.
I just want to see it to where they don't have everything locked up and not everybody's stealing. They just run right by you and steal everything inside.
It's going to take us a while to move back to see some of these things being unlocked in the stores.
Well, retail leaders say shoppers will likely start seeing changes when they see shoplifting stats change and more law enforcement showing up. In Oakland, Sheng Tao is out as mayor. Last night, city council members officially declared a vacancy in the mayor's office, leaving council president Nikki Fortunato-Bass as interim mayor. But she won't be there for long. As Kevin Coe reports, it comes at a time when the city is facing a monumental budget shortfall.
Ali Obad arrived at Oakland City Hall to talk about the budget, but was taken aback by the city officials he didn't see.
It was just very disrespectful not to see all the city council members sitting there in the chamber, to hear our voice, to hear our concern. Because this is a very important meeting. It's the last meeting for some of the outgoing city council members.
There was no absence of emotion in City Hall Tuesday night as Oaklanders across the city demanded council members to fix the budget shortfall without touching necessities like public safety and senior services. Obad believes any cuts should start inside the building he's standing in.
I want to be a real truthful leadership. It should start from the top all the way to the bottom.
Although she wasn't there in person, Sheng Tao briefly joined Tuesday's council meeting via Zoom. Someone who was there, Nikki Fortunato-Bass, who is taking over as Oakland's interim mayor. But Bass is leaving next month to be an Alameda County supervisor. And as soon as the 3 newly elected council members are sworn in on January 6th, their immediate task will be electing a new council president.
What people should anticipate is that there will be a lot of jostling behind the scenes amongst the city council members to determine which one of them will become the board president, ergo, which one of them will become the interim mayor of Oakland, California.
Political analyst Justin Burton says whoever Oakland City Council members choose, they'll face some of the toughest decisions when it comes to cutting services.
The new leadership of Oakland is going to be facing some hard decisions, and they need to be able to make them. We know that if you don't make hard decisions right now, you're going to have to make heartbreaking ones in June. And so I think we're ready to pull the Band-Aid off and get down to business and get this city straightened out.
Well, in San Francisco, health officials say the number of deaths from accidental drug overdoses is on track for a 5-year low. The health department tracked 46 deaths for November. That is up from October, but well below last November. And overall, the number of deaths to date this year is down about 20% from 2023. That is the deadliest year on record. Officials say one big factor in the drop is more people are seeking addiction treatment. San Francisco's Interfaith shelter is open once again. It adds up to 80 beds to the city's shelter system program. This happens during the winter months. Our Amanda Harry stopped by one of those shelters to speak with the volunteers and those who are using that program.
A warm place to sleep can be hard to come by, especially during the coldest months of the year.
Comforting, I will say that. If it wasn't for this, well, I don't know where I would be, and I'm not going to speculate on it.
Marcus Darkraven and his 6-month-old dog, Celio, recently lost their apartment to a mold infestation. He knew about the Interfaith shelter program because he used it more than 22 years ago.
If it wasn't for it, a lot of people, including myself, would be in a very bad situation.
The program is in its 36th year and increases the city's shelter capacity by 30 to 80 beds per night, depending on the location. It rotates between 5 different faith-based locations. This one is at Cannon Kipp Senior Center. Darkraven says he's grateful for these spaces for himself and anyone who may end up needing it in the future.
The malicious part of me would wish that everyone would be homeless for a while to see what it's like before you judge someone, because you never know their situation and you never know, ever, whether or not when or how you may end up like this.
The shelter program operates from 6 p.m. to 7 a.m. daily. It provides a safe place to sleep and a prepared meal.
Any more?
12-year-old Rafi Orjajian has been volunteering here with his father, Kirk, since he was 7 years old.
I'm proud of you, ma'am.
For Rafi, it humanizes the people he's seen experiencing homelessness on the street, and he enjoys talking with them.
It's actually very easy because they're really nice to me, and it's just easy to interact with them.
Kirk says he feels it's valuable to expose his son to other people's realities.
Especially during the holiday times, it's important to, remember that we're very lucky, and there are people around us who need our help.
Darkraven is appreciative of the help, and he plans to utilize the resources offered to him. He's hopeful to find another permanent housing option through the city. Despite being in one of the more difficult parts of his life, he's going to remain optimistic.
I'd much rather look at the best things, such as my situation, one door closed, that I've been in for 22 and a half years. And now another one will open, and hopefully, it will be better.
Creating better futures, one shelter bed at a time.
This is the Interfaith Shelter's 36th year. It will continue to run through the end of March. Placement is on a first-come, first-served basis. Meantime, San Francisco Mayor-elect Daniel Lurie has named Ned Siegel as the chief in housing economic development. The former Twitter CFO will lead efforts to revitalize downtown and accelerate housing production. Siegel and Lurie have known each other since they were in grade school, and Siegel has served on the board of Lurie's nonprofit Tipping Point Community. Siegel is the first of 4 police policy chiefs overseeing public safety, housing, health, and infrastructure. Those chiefs will each report directly to the mayor. Still ahead on CBS News Bay Area. It's been an emotional roller coaster for the families of Bob Lee and Nima Momeni. We hear from them as the case finally comes to a close.
Let's get this sentence and put him back in that orange jumpsuit.
Nima was not a criminal.
And what's next in this high-profile case after the decision by the jury? Los Vallejo police are asking the CHP to step in to help curb what they can describe as only an alarming increase in crime. And food bank workers and volunteers are feeling the stress this holiday season, how they are handling a surge in demand.
I've pushed more meals out of this kitchen than I ever thought I could.
It's another cool and cloudy day for us today here in the Bay Area, but at least it's dry. We had that dense fog advisory this morning until 9 a.m. Now what we're left with is partly cloudy skies throughout the afternoon hours today, with a low 60s in the forecast today, tomorrow lasting into our Friday forecast. And throughout the next 3 days, we're going to see dry conditions, but then we head into Saturday, and that's when the weather starts to change, especially in our inland areas too. Low 60s in the forecast and rainy skies right around the corner as we head into early next week.
Well, Nima Momeni faces a sentence of at least 15 years in prison after being convicted in the murder of Cash App founder Bob Lee. A hearing is now scheduled for January 10th to determine his sentencing date. The guilty verdict came down yesterday, and we brought that to you live on air and streaming right here on CBS News Bay Area. The judge did not allow cameras in the courtroom, but sketches showing Momeni wiping away tears. Lauren Toms was in the courtroom as that verdict was handed down. She has reaction from family members. What's next?
After 6 weeks of a trial that captured national attention and 7 days of deliberations, the words "guilty of murder in the second degree" echoed inside a silent courtroom. For Bob Lee's family, it marks the start of healing.
I want a good full day of rest and take a nice easy weekend for sure. But like I said, far from over, but a little bit of rest today.
Over the course of the trial, jurors grappled with two competing narratives of what happened on April 4th, 2023. Prosecutors painted Nima Momeni as an overprotective brother who set out to stab Lee after an argument over Momeni's sister, while the defense said Momeni was only defending himself against Lee, who attacked him while high on drugs.
This is obviously very disappointing for us.
A conviction of second-degree murder requires prosecutors to prove the killing was intentional, but without premeditation.
They just did not believe Nima Momeni's testimony based on all of the evidence that came in. They did not believe he acted in self-defense, and they found beyond a reasonable doubt that he didn't, and then he committed second-degree murder.
The defense already plotting their next steps, hinting at appeals after multiple calls for a mistrial fell flat.
We're going to analyze this when we have time to calmly go through what the legal issues were, and if there were decisions that were made and evidence that was presented that should not have been, we're going to take that up. Mr. Momeni continues to have a right to fight for his freedom. This is a very painful day, and this is not the end of the story.
After the verdict, District Attorney Brooke Jenkins weighing in on the evidence she believes swayed the jury in favor of a conviction, including text messages where Momeni's sister Kazar referred to her brother as psycho and said, quote, "He scares me."
I think the text message evidence in particular that signaled kind of what was going on in the state of mind between Mr. Momeni and his sister in that conversation. I think his conduct after the fact as well, and how he operated after that murder, and what happened with his phones and other things, I think were a sign of a guilty conscience.
Momeni faces 16 years to life in prison for his actions under a darkened bridge. The verdict marking the end to a case that shook San Francisco to its core.
Because a lot of shame was put on our city. Our city was painted in a very negative light, not only nationally, but internationally, by people who had no idea what happened here. And so I think it's a testament to needing to have patience. Let us investigate what happened and make sure that when you say something, you know what you're talking about.
Well, an extremely emotional day for family and friends on both sides of this case. District Attorney Brooke Jenkins was seen hugging Bob Lee's daughter inside the courtroom. We also caught up with Nima Momeni's mother and Bob Lee's brother after the verdict was read. Here's what they told our Max Darrow.
18 months after former tech executive Bob Lee was stabbed and killed in San Francisco, his brother, Timothy Oliver Lee, was finally able to let out a sigh of relief.
Can you take us to the moment you heard the words guilty?
My heart just like, I don't know, I had like just all of the emotions at once.
Lee has been in court for almost every day of the trial, anxiously waiting as the jury deliberated for 7 days before coming to the verdict of second-degree murder.
This has been an extremely hard process to be able to try and get through and to just live through.
Despite that, he commended the jury for coming to their decision.
The longer it went on, the more we were pensive about what was going to happen in the room today. And we're glad they came to the right conclusion, and I'm glad they took the time to be able to come to that conclusion. What matters today is that we had a guilty verdict and that Nima Momeni is going away for a very long time. And that us, the family, Bob's kids will not have to see him on the street.
Bob's ex-wife, Krista, didn't mince words, as she hasn't throughout the duration of the trial.
We're pleased with the guilty verdict. Murder one would have been better, but let's get this sentence and put him back in that orange jumpsuit. This man deserves life in prison as far as I'm concerned, and I'm glad that he's off the streets.
It's a sad story. It's in general, someone is dead.
Nima Momeni's mom, Manaz, offered her condolences to Lee's family, but maintained her son was acting in self-defense.
Nima was not a criminal. He was defending himself.
From her perspective,
both families are victims. We both are victims of drug abuse.
Lee called the verdict the best of all worst outcomes.
We know that Nima Momeni now is being held accountable for his actions, and so now we can start healing and trying to come together more as a family to try and not move on from this, because I don't believe that's possible, but at least try and get our lives to a place where it's not something new and horrible every day.
Well, the next step is sentencing. Again, that hearing is set for January 10th. That is when a date could be set. We've got much more reaction and analysis to the verdict on our website at kpix.com. To Vallejo now, where videos like this one, well, it's raising concerns. Thieves shown breaking into a van of a British band which had just started its U.S. tour, the type of crimes people say is happening all too often in the city. And Vallejo police are trying to boost staffing, and they have asked the governor's office for help as well. A group of residents now joining the call for the CHP to step in to help curb what they describe as an alarming increase in crime. They tell our Cara St. Cyr the help can't come fast enough.
Elon Delgadillo owns a bridal store in Vallejo. He says break-ins and robberies have become a part of doing business over the last 15 years, with one robbery costing the business up to $250,000 in damages.
We have our fair share of, dealing with criminals in the city, and of course the police isn't really responsive.
Delgadillo has taken his security into his own hands, putting a lock on the front door that only opens from the inside. Guests have to be buzzed into the shop. Still, Delgadillo is worried thieves might break the windows.
I think we've cast a wide communication, to the greater Bay Area that hey, come to Vallejo. They're not gonna do anything.
The FBI Crime Index shows a spike in property crimes in Vallejo starting in 2020. Paula Conley is a native of the city, and she says through the years, crime and a lax approach to tackling it is killing her community.
Everyone is at risk all the time, and unfortunately, for various reasons, our city has not been able to get a hold of the situation. But at some point, somebody has to.
Conley is asking for the CHP to help Vallejo's police department. VPD is experiencing a severe shortage. Conley says she's seen the CHP at work in Oakland and is asking for the governor's support as a last resort.
We can't keep living like this. Something has to be done to rein in this kind of violence and crime.
The petition is picking up steam, with about 3,000 signatures since yesterday. City officials are on board with the effort. A spokesperson for the police department saying, as we continue to rebuild, we remain open to exploring additional formalized police service support that enhances public safety for our community. Conley says the city can't wait much longer for reinforcement.
The residents should feel safe in their home and their cities. And if everyone says, sorry, there's nothing we can do about it, that just doesn't seem acceptable to me.
In East San Jose, a $100,000 grant launched today to promote local businesses and help revitalize the Alum Rock neighborhood.
Alum Rock is more than just a business corridor. It is living, breathing, and reflection of the rich cultures, dreams, and entrepreneurial spirit that makes East San Jose so special.
Well, the grant includes $50,000 for beautification efforts, $25,000 for capital improvement projects, and another $25,000 to clean up graffiti and illegal dumping. The grant was secured through the budget office. And still ahead, the Bay Area's sky-high cost of living is pushing more people to food banks for the first time. We're going to meet the volunteers who are trying to do more with less.
So you went from 1,200 meals a day to 4,000 a day?
Yes, and it just keeps growing.
Here's the big weather story for us today. Of course, these cloudy skies into the afternoon hours are going to kind of be a nice break from all this dense fog we have. These clouds are really just leftovers from the storms that are to the north of us. But here's what's happening as we head into this weekend's forecast. We've been talking about it all morning. The next big weather story after this dense fog has to do with some rain and some strong winds that we're expecting as early as Saturday, heading into Sunday and Monday of next week. So keep that in mind for any outdoor plans as we get closer to the first day of winter this weekend. It's definitely looking winter-like for us, not only here, but all the way up into the Sierra too. They're expecting a fair share of snow as we're getting our fair share of rain starting Saturday. And those showers hold on tight to us as we head into early next week too. Next week is Christmas week right around the corner, and it's going to be a wet start to it from Monday and Tuesday, with daytime highs slowly starting to cool down into the 50s as early as Tuesday. That's just along the bay. Now we head over into our inland spots. It's going to look very similar for us too. I'll have more on that coming up in a bit. But for now, over to you.
Bay Area food banks are scrambling to meet an increased demand as high food prices are pushing more first-timers to soup kitchens and pantries. Our Itai Hod spent a day at the food bank of Contra Costa and Solano counties, where workers and volunteers are stretched to the max.
Because
Once a week, Jason Kofter drives down a road he never thought he'd have to travel.
It's a little depressing. It feels a little shameful.
He's heading to the West Pittsburgh Church of God in Christ, a place that's become both a lifeline and a reminder of just how much his life has changed.
It's definitely hard. I grew up where I learned you work for everything you have, you know. There you go.
A father of 4, he lost his job as a sales rep after a debilitating heart attack.
God bless, thank you.
Now making ends meet is nearly impossible.
I went to the grocery store last night and had to put half my groceries back because I didn't have enough money.
Across the country, food banks and pantries are struggling to keep up with demand as more and more people like Kofter are facing the same hard truth. It's tougher than ever to cover the basics.
I've pushed more meals out of this kitchen than I ever thought I could.
Carissa Crater is the executive chef at Loaves and Fishes, a soup kitchen in Contra Costa County where 1 in 4 people is now food insecure.
So you went from 1,200 meals a day to 4,000 a day?
Yes. So it just keeps growing.
The food bank of Contra Costa and Solano says it's now distributing 2.9 million pounds of food every month, up from 1.8 million in 2019. And it's not just in the Bay Area. A recent survey by Credit Karma shows a stunning 27% of Americans are now skipping meals because of skyrocketing food prices. But there's at least some good news, says Emily Childers, a Credit Karma consumer advocate.
We are seeing inflation starting to cool, but that hasn't materialized for consumers in their day-to-day budgets yet. I'm optimistic personally that it will.
As for Kofter, he's feeling a bit more hopeful, not just about dinner, but life itself.
Lets me know there's a future tomorrow, and we're gonna come out of this okay.
Now, with the worst in his rearview mirror, he's banking on a brighter future.
And the food bank of Contra Costa and Solano says things will get worse before they get better. They say they typically see a 20% increase in need during the holidays. To learn how you can donate food or money and volunteer your time, you can use the QR code right there on your screen or head to our website at kpix.com/give. Well, coming up for the next half hour in CBS News Bay Area, small business owners in Pleasanton are worried their safety may be on the line as the city faces a budget shortfall.
The biggest issue with any business is always safety. Safety for my employees and safety for my customers.
How a newly opened Costco could help bail the city out. Plus, 20 homes jammed on less than an acre, the ambitious housing plan in the South Bay. Why there's not much the city can do about it. Yamamoto. This is the minute. The federal government will pay over $116 million to settle more than 100 lawsuits filed by women who claim they were abused at FCI Dublin Prison. The facility was plagued by allegations of sexual misconduct. The Bureau of Prisons shut down the facility last April, confirmed it will not reopen. In Oakland, the city council has taken its first steps in addressing a major $130 million budget shortfall. In their first phase of cuts, the council decided to temporarily close 2 fire stations. The next round of cuts could close 4 more stations. The council is also considering a reduction of police overtime spending. The Bay Area Toll Authority meeting this morning discussed raising tolls. They are proposing gradual increases for 5 years, starting in 2026. That would be in addition to a $1 increase that's already planned for next year. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. This is The Minute.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Throughout the Bay Area this morning, we woke up to a dense fog advisory. And heading into this afternoon, that fog's still going to be a little bit stubborn in our inland areas, with daytime highs today topping off really in the upper 50s and lower 60s throughout most of the Bay Area, to the north at least, near Oakland, Vallejo, and Napa. Santa Rosa, another good example too. As you zoom in, you'll see daytime highs over there pretty much sitting in the mid to low 60s. Now, we head all the way down into the Santa Clara Valley. That's a different picture. A little bit warmer for us today, closer to the 70s this afternoon near San Jose. It's 68 degrees. Now, here's the big weather story for us. Once that fog starts to move away, we're really just left with some mild conditions this afternoon and beautiful conditions to get out there and get some fresh air. It's a beautiful day out there today as high pressure is parked just offshore, keeping the storm track just to the north of us. But that's going to look a lot different as we head into this weekend's forecast. As early as Saturday, Sunday, and Monday of next week, the rain returns, and so does the strong winds too. So let's take a quick look at what we can expect as we head into the next 7 days. Daytime highs, they're going to stay pretty much in the low 60s, upper 50s throughout the Bay Area. It's dry for us today and tomorrow, lasting into Friday, but notice how it does change as we head into this weekend and early next week too. We'll cool down a little bit as we head into mid next week, but that's still not the big weather story. We're expecting wind gusts to get pretty breezy into our Saturday and Sunday forecast as the storm first approaches us, and some heavy rain expected too, especially up in the North Bay as the storm comes in from the north. We'll keep you updated with that forecast here in the Weather Center, as well as those rainfall totals. But for now, get out there and enjoy these dry days we have until Friday, because by Saturday, you're definitely going to want to hold on tight to that umbrella.
And East Bay City is tackling similar budget issues that Oakland and San Francisco have faced. The city of Pleasanton dealing with increasing costs and not enough revenue to keep pace. Voters in the city were also asked to approve a sales tax to help close the budget gap, but 54% rejected it. Now the city is looking at a $100 million shortfall over the next 8 years. And as our Katie Nielsen shows us, some fear it could mean cuts to some very important services.
Have you guys been in before? No. Oh, yay. Can I tell you a little bit about it? Sure.
Wendy Schulte and her husband have been small business owners in Pleasanton for almost 10 years.
We chose this area because it was one of the more safer areas to run a small business.
They own Good Common Sense Naturals, an all-organic skincare and bath store.
We're making gift sets all day long, so we've got all these baskets.
Where Wendy and her staff make all the products in-house. The back of the shop they call the kitchen.
The biggest issue with any business is always safety. Safety for my employees and safety for my customers.
That's why she and others around town were concerned when they heard about proposed cuts from the city administrator to help balance the city's projected budget shortfall, including making cuts to police, like eliminating school resource officers in the K-9 program, as well as closing one of the city's fire stations.
I think our community was pretty clear that public safety was one of their top priorities.
Jack Balch is the newly elected Pleasanton mayor. He says cuts to public safety should be a last resort, but like many other cities, the general fund's largest expense is public safety. So it's hard to balance a budget without making cuts to those services.
I think that our community, based on the election, has chosen leaders to do the hard work to decide if there's other things that can happen first.
Balch hopes the new Costco in Pleasanton will add sales tax revenue to make up for the decline at Stone Ridge Mall, where many of the anchor stores like Nordstrom have already closed.
They'll want to see that it's actually made in Pleasanton.
For Wendy, she hopes the council looks at the budget like a business owner and tightens the belt before cutting critical services.
That they've actually dug very, very deeply into this, and there's no other choice. But is no other choice going to be for us to be sacrificing our safety?
Well, a lawsuit has been filed to try to halt the return of the Bay Lights. Illuminate the Arts, the nonprofit behind the iconic light display, has been working to reinstall 50,000 new LED lights. But the group, Soft Lights, is raising concerns, claiming the lights could pose neurological risks for people with certain disabilities and contribute to harmful light pollution. The Bay Lights are expected to be switched back on later this winter after going dark last year. We reached out for comment, but have not heard back just yet. Now to that rare tornado that swept through Scotts Valley, where a firefighter found himself right in the middle of it.
I see a van in front of me that's starting to lean over, starting to move, and next thing you know, I'm in midair, not quite spinning around, but getting turned around and dropped.
Oh, God. Well, that was Manuel Garcia's CAL FIRE truck lying on its side on Mount Herman Road. Some witnesses reported seeing it at least 8 feet in the air because of the winds on Saturday, and bystanders helped break the front windshield so he could get out.
At that time, I looked around and noticed there was more than 5 cars flipped over, debris all over the roadway. Power poles just leaning, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what just happened? Like, we don't get tornadoes here, but this looks like a tornado.
Oh my God.
Fortunately, Garcia walked away with only minor scrapes and bruises. In Chico, officials now say there are clear signs of arson in that fire to destroy the historic Bidwell Mansion. They haven't shared details on who may be responsible, but investigators are now asking for help. CAL FIRE's online tip form lets people unload or upload photos or video. The fire tore through the 1860s Victorian home just a week ago. Renovations were nearly finished, but now the mansion's future is uncertain. Once home to Chico's founder, John Bidwell, it is a significant piece of California history. Well, a popular Oakland barbecue spot is expanding to Lafayette today. Chief Chef Matt Horn is opening his new Horn Barbecue location on Mount Diablo Boulevard. Horn first made his mark in West Oakland with smoked brisket, ribs, and tri-tip after a devastating fire last year. Horn reopened the restaurant at a new location in downtown Oakland. He also has a fried chicken joint called Cowbird. As California grapples with a housing crisis, a lot of Bay Area communities simply don't have much say about what is built in their own neighborhoods. In the city of Campbell, a developer plans to jam a lot of homes on a smaller lot on Latimer Avenue. And as John Ramos reports, there's not much anyone can do about it.
There are big plans for this 1-acre lot, plans that not everyone is happy about. But it's an example of how much the rules have changed when it comes to building housing. It's actually only 0.8 of an acre. On this lot on Latimer Avenue, a developer plans to put 20 three-story townhomes. The site drawings show how much it will tower over the single-family home next door. It's the new reality under state law.
But in the past, you know, I'm guessing there would have been lesser units before all these laws came out, yes.
Alan Zisser is on the Campbell Planning Commission that approved the project by a somewhat reluctant unanimous vote. Only one woman called into the meeting to express concern.
So when you have a 3-story building, that really affects the aesthetic, you know, the look, the feel of the neighborhood. And I feel like it's going to be weird because the one next to it is the 1-story. It's just like you're going to have a castle in the middle of nowhere.
The commissioners admitted they had no choice but to rubber stamp the project, and you could hear the lack of enthusiasm after the vote was taken.
Okay, that passed 6-0. Good luck.
But developers don't really need luck anymore. State laws have taken away the power of localities to influence land use decisions, and Zisser wonders what the role for planning commissions will be going forward.
I'm not convinced that our input will be, taken, in any serious way, because developers tend to go, this is what I want to do, and the law says I can do it. So, they're gonna do it.
So the 20 townhomes will be shoehorned into the space, and because the law says they're not required to provide any parking at all, neighbors are concerned that excess cars will take up a lot of the current street parking. But a man named Jake said he has no sympathy for city planners who have contributed to the housing shortage by discouraging construction of new homes for decades.
Well, because you weren't using your power effectively in the first place. So I don't have any bad feelings about it. It kind of sucks that we're going to get 20 bad townhouses jammed into a tiny little place, and it's going to look ugly and it's going to suck, and that's your fault. You could have done better from the start and you didn't, and now we're here.
And some think it's not dense enough. Alex Shore is founder of Catalyze Silicon Valley, a housing advocacy group opposed to using land and capital to build townhomes. He would like developers to put their money into high-rise, high-density projects that produce a lot more units.
Unfortunately or fortunately, it's as simple as a numbers game. The more homes we build, the more we can get the people who currently live here, the people who are going to be born here, and the people who want to move here to have a place that they can afford to live.
But the developers are building on the land that's available and in a way that makes the most money. And because the state is so desperate for homes, they can pretty much do whatever they want.
Well, the architect for the project says once all permits are in place, it should take about a year to a year and a half to complete construction of the townhomes. Up next, the 49ers are looking for a Hail Mary to keep their playoff hopes alive. A preview of this weekend's matchup.
The 49er Experience, tonight at 7:30.
It's another cool and cloudy day for us today here in the Bay Area, but at least it's dry. We had that dense fog advisory this morning until 9 a.m. Now what we're left with is partly cloudy skies throughout the afternoon hours today, with a low 60s in the forecast today, tomorrow lasting into our Friday forecast. And throughout the next 3 days, we're going to see dry conditions, but then we head into Saturday, and that's when the weather starts to change, especially in our inland areas too. Low 60s in the forecast and rainy skies right around the corner as we head into early next week.
Well, the Niners travel to Miami this weekend for a matchup with the Dolphins. You can watch it right here on CBS News Bay Area. They will try to keep their playoff hopes alive, even though, as Matt Lively explains, their odds of making it are less than 1%.
This is the Audi Red and Gold Report.
The 49ers and Dolphins entered the season as title contenders. Sunday's matchup could have been a Super Bowl preview. Instead, both teams are 6-8, and the loser will be eliminated from the playoffs.
I'm excited. You know, I'm looking forward to this one, and I'm going to prepare like it's a Super Bowl.
The last time the 49ers were in Miami, it was the Super Bowl. We all remember how that one turned out. So whatever happens on Sunday, it won't be as painful as that trip.
I know mathematically I still believe we have a chance, but I want to come back and play better football and challenge the character of our team.
If you're healthy, you should play, and I think momentum created in the next few games could be really big for the offseason.
For the Red and Gold Report, I'm Matt Lively.
Meanwhile, the 49ers are getting into the holiday spirit. The team hosted its Kids Club holiday party last night. Younger 49er faithful made ornaments, wrote their names on last-minute letters to Santa. Got to catch up with Sourdough Sam himself. You can catch Matt and Vern on our half-hour 49ers experience tonight. That's at 7:30 right here on KPIX and streaming on the free CBS News app. Coming up, it's a holiday light show with a twist. We're going to take you to the Bay Area home where you won't catch a glimpse of Santa or his elves.
We started about 9 years ago. We started with 5 dogs total, and we've gotten all the way up to 72.
Here's the big weather story for us today. Of course, these cloudy skies into the afternoon hours are going to kind of be a nice break from all this dense fog we have. These clouds are really just leftovers from the storms that are to the north of us. But here's what's happening as we head into this weekend's forecast. We've been talking about it all morning. The next big weather story after this dense fog has to do with some rain and some strong winds that we're expecting as early as Saturday, heading into Sunday and Monday of next week. So keep that in mind for any outdoor plans as we get closer to the first day of winter this weekend. It's definitely looking winter-like for us, not only here, but all the way up into the Sierra too. They're expecting a fair share of snow as we're getting our fair share of rain starting Saturday. And those showers hold on tight to us as we head into early next week too. Next week is Christmas week right around the corner, and it's going to be a wet start to it from Monday and Tuesday with daytime highs slowly starting to cool down into the 50s as early as Tuesday. That's just along the bay. Now we head over into our inland spots. It's going to look very similar for us too. I'll have more on that coming up in a bit. But for now, over to you.
This holiday season, we're highlighting the essential work of local food banks. Max Darrow shows us a generous donation that's part of a long-term partnership in the South Bay.
Second Harvest in Silicon Valley helps provide food for 1 in 6 people in Silicon Valley. That's San Mateo County and Santa Clara County. And when things get tough for people, food budgets are often the very first thing to go. But there are people in our community who are helping fight this silent crisis, including Applied Materials. And we have Sarah from Applied Materials here, and you have a check for 64 million meals?
Yes, 64 million meals over the lifetime of the partnership with Second Harvest since 1991.
That's incredible. How do you end up contributing something like this to Second Harvest?
A partnership, being community members and partnership in the Silicon Valley, but also we have an annual campaign called the Fight Against Hunger that we do every year right around this time. And this year we're aiming to beat what we raised last year, which is $1.71 million.
And why do you guys step up to give like this?
We believe in being responsible community members. It's one of our values at Applied Materials, responsibility and integrity, and we have to give back where we live and work.
And so Leslie Bacho over here, you are with Second Harvest, and I'm going to just pivot real quick. Applied Materials has this partnership. This is a long-standing thing. How important is this for families here in Silicon Valley?
Well, it's really critical. We're so grateful for long-time support like Applied Materials, and we're just really, to solve hunger, it takes all of us in this community coming together. And so we're grateful for people's donations, large and small. It's a way you can make a real difference right here locally for all of your neighbors who are struggling to make ends meet right now.
Making a difference in our own backyard. Leslie, thank you. Sarah, thank you. And if you want to help out and contribute, head to our website, kpix.com/give, or you can scan that QR code right on your screen.
KPIX is helping you get decked out for the holidays every day. We've been bringing you some of the brightest light displays all around the Bay Area. Today, our Laureen Ayub takes us to Livermore, to a home that does not feature elves or even Santa. This house, well, for the dogs.
No plug left unturned. When it comes to Christmas decor, Livermore resident Lisa Henderson takes her preparations very seriously. She says it's a family tradition.
I remember running through my grandmother's house and counting all the different trees that I could find. And so it's just been really fun. As my husband and I have a son, it's been really fun to share it with him as well.
But Lisa's holiday aesthetic is very dogmatic. Inspired by her love for canines, Lisa's home is renowned for its passionate display of holiday hounds.
We started about 9 years ago. We started with 5 dogs total, and we've gotten all the way up to 72, even have a couple on the roof these days.
Lisa says the details matter because the joy matters. Becoming a social media sensation, many visitors frequent her home to see the pups, light and bright, all night.
When you see people walking down the sidewalk, when you see people driving by during the day or evening time, and they're just like, this is amazing, we love it so much, thank you. So it's definitely worth it.
For Lisa, her love for dogs shines, both outside and inside, all year long.
Well, if you miss any of our stories on these amazing light displays, join us for the Decked Out for the Holidays special, airing Christmas Eve and on Christmas Day. Well, thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. We'll be right back with your first alert forecast and a look at your top stories.